Hey, welcome into the Grabbing the Brisket podcast. Hey, we got a fun one planned for you guys today. We got Aaron Lesley from Texas Old Dust. This guy has been blazing up and down the trails, doing competition cooking, and just kicking ass everywhere he goes. Not to mention, he has a full line of rubs, sauces that he's utilizing to kick everybody asses, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, it's a good guy to have on. We're going to pick his brain.
Yeah. There's probably about half a dozen guys right now on this, at least in the IBCA and the CBA where we're doing it, that when you see them show up, you're like, shit. Yeah. He's definitely one of those guys.
Definitely. And this is Grabbing the Brisket, guys. Hey, how's everybody's week been?
It's been good, man. Yeah, it's been exciting weeks.
Well, Jan, I know you just got back from your exciting trip from Nashville, Tennessee.
Bourbon Street, Bourbon, Nash Vegas, Nashville. It's a little crazy. Yeah, we had a good time. Yeah.
I imagine you probably didn't drink too much while you were up there, right?
I ran with the big dogs.
Yeah.
Did you have any barbecue while you were there?
No. I had some Nashville hot chicken, though.
Oh, yeah? Was it as hot as they say it is?
It'll burn you up. It will burn you up. And it's sneaky hot. It's not like you didn't smell like it's going to be hot, but you eat and you're like, oh, it's a little sweet, not a whole lot of flavor, and all of a sudden you're just melting down. Mm-hmm. So it was good. It was a good experience. 21st birthday for my daughter. Happy 21st birthday to her. So it was pretty cool hanging out with her and celebrating her 21st. So
nice. Sounds like a blast.
It was.
All right, I got a little story. The other night, I'm letting my dogs in the backyard, letting them in the house, and as we're walking in the door, I notice, like right as we're walking up to the door, to the left of the door, is about a little 2-inch green frog on the wall, like one of those little tree frogs, like you see in the National Geographic,
like little Kermit,
just like that. Well, unfortunately, Hank also sees the frog, and it's right when I'm opening the door. This son of a bitch frog jumps right into my house, and I see him go under the couch, which is right kind of by the door, and I'm like, what the fuck, God damn it, Hank, you stupid son of a dog! And I drag him in, and I'm just losing my stuff. Get him put away, and I'm calling my sons, my 8-year-old and my 15-year-old, down. Come and help me. We got to get this frog out of here. And by the time they come down, I've flipped our couch over upside down in the living room, and we can't find it. We're like, where is this damn frog? Like, it's got to be around here. I'm banging on the couch, and we had like a game board under the couch. I'm moving that out of the way.
It's like Griswold, where he's like attached to your back or something.
It's right. Something like that. Yes, it's definitely out of a comedy. I have issues. That's what I've come to realize with this. And finally, we realized it's on the wall in the house, like down by one of their little receptacles. And I'm like, okay, cool, we found it. Luke, grab the frog. My 15-year-old. He's looking at me like, no, I'm not grabbing the frog. Like I've done damage to my kids.
You put the fear of frog in them.
All of my kids.
By the way, this story makes a lot more sense if you realize that John is deathly afraid of frogs.
I have issues, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
So Luke's like, no, I'm not getting the frog. Maddox, who, he plays with Matt's son, and they play with frogs, whatever, he's no, I'm not getting the frog. I'm like, $20. I'll give you $20. Just grab the frog. They won't do it. Finally, I go get a bucket. Cambro, thank you, Cambro. And I'm going to go, put the bucket over the frog. I can't do it. I won't do it. It's on the wall. All I got to do is put the bucket over it, right? And then move around a little, and he'll. No, it didn't happen. Luke, nope, I'm not doing it. Maddox, I'm not doing it. Finally, my wife, who I'm not going to go into detail, just had a procedure, comes out and puts the bucket over the frog for us.
Yeah.
It's super embarrassing. I'm like, okay, I'll take it from here. So I grab the bucket, and I'm holding it up against the wall, right? Because the frog's still on the wall. He's not getting in the bucket. Well, I'm trying to slide the lid to the Cambro bucket over the top of it in between there, and that frog is like just waiting. He starts trying. I'm telling you, when I screamed at the top of my lungs like a little girl because that frog almost got out, and then I just shook the shit out of the bucket till it fell in and put the lid on it and just screaming, open the door, like I had a grenade in my hand. And they eventually did, and I threw the bucket out in the yard.
Just bucket and everything.
It was very embarrassing, wow. And my wife is laughing her ass off, and I turn around when I walk inside, and the couch is upside down, the lamp and the tables are pushed over to the side. It was...
You don't happen to have cameras inside, do you?
I'm just saying, if this were on video, this would win us a lot of money on one of them funniest home video things, because it was It was a scene. It was something.
Definitely like, what is it? Ridiculousness. I guess that's the new America's Most Funniest Home Videos or whatever.
Oh, with Rob Dyrdek.
Yep.
Yeah. Anyways, it was embarrassing, and I've come to the conclusion I've screwed up my kids.
Yeah.
So.
Hey, coming to the theater near you, it's going to be Frognophobia. I can
James.
just imagine John as a little baby, just in his crib, and just some frog just randomly
Jumped on his chest.
Yeah, it just jumped on his
from
leg.
that day forward.
And he's like
just
crawling forward.
There's
and
a
he's just
story
like,
behind why I don't like frogs. I'm sure I've told it on the show before,
Yeah.
so I won't go into that. But I have my reasons, but it's still issues.
Why don't we ask Aaron
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm
what
about
he
to say
thinks
that's the
about?
perfect segue to have our guests enter. So
See what he thinks about frogs.
Okay, yeah, let's get him on here.
Yeah, we've got him queued up here.
with the magic of television, we're able to teleport him in right away. Go, John.
Hello, Aaron. Can you hear us?
Yeah, there you are.
Hey, brother, thank you so much for hanging on. John is, for the money we pay him, we're not getting our money's worth with the amount of production that he's been putting forth here. But
And we're going to have to sit down and have that talk, right?
well, it's uncomfortable, but yes, we're going to have that talk.
Man,
So
I know that high pay salary is, sometimes it just has to have that talk.
it is, and money is one way of paying people. I
Right.
think John's form of payment has been more towards
Just do all the work and shut the hell up.
Right.
Okay, I'll
and
do
occasional
that.
Coors Light.
I think
So
right now he's working on the beer, so that's taking first. That's up front, stage and center right now. But I think he's got it. We're good to go.
yeah. You
Heck
missed
yeah,
you
heck
missed the
yeah.
part. So James did an intro just a few minutes ago, and he's kind of talked you into it. So I don't. You didn't get to hear all the nice things he said about you, so you'll have to listen to the podcast to hear.
Yeah, because we ain't gonna say it again.
We can't say it again. We already said
Don't
it
do
once.
that on purpose.
Right.
Do it on purpose.
Right.
I mean, I've been on since 7:40.
We
I'm waiting to come in.
we saw you actually, and John, he couldn't get the damn thing booted up. So you think after 2 years of doing this, we know how to. You know what? Let's not talk about that. Let's just get into
Who's in
this.
charge of that IT department?
I know it.
Right.
I know it. John is.
Yeah.
We outsourced it.
Department of One.
Yeah.
So, hey, man, thank you for joining us. We'll say it one more time. We've got Aaron Lesley and from Texas Oil Dust, and man, we appreciate you taking the time to talk barbecue with us.
I appreciate you guys inviting me. That I feel honored. When I seen you in Austin, I was tickled pink just to come over and shake your hand and introduce myself because I watch you guys on TikTok all the time, and I love the whole back and forth pellet grill, offset smoker, wood burning pellets. It makes me laugh, and you guys have a very big following. And so, I mean, just as a person getting into TikTok about 3-4 months ago, I think I saw that, and I saw you guys at the Austin Rodeo, and I just thought, man, I got to meet these guys and talk to them.
Oh, we appreciate it, and it's also right back at you, bro, because we followed your career along with a lot of the other cooks that were out there competing at Austin Rodeo, and we got to meet. I mean, you came over, and I was like, holy shit, that's Aaron Lesley with Texas Oil Dust, and then all of a sudden we
Whatever.
Yeah, no, hey, I'm not blowing smoke up your ass. I mean, I was like, and I told these guys, I was like, oh, man, this is badass. And so I'm really happy that you and John were able to work out a time for you to come on this podcast so we can shoot a little shit.
Oh man, I'm in. That I've only got one video. It's like 4 million views. You guys got like tons of things out there that are, they're there for a guy who does it by himself. Day in and day out, it's cool to be able to to meet guys in a different universe.
Oh yeah,
because I'm a competition guy, so at the same time I'm in the restaurant industry, and to try to mix those two worlds, it gets a little difficult. So it's good to talk to somebody outside that genre that's just on an everyday basis.
No, definitely. Yeah, if you don't mind, can you kind of because we all are fans. Everybody here at this table is a fan of yours. But if you don't mind, can you kind of give us or just our listeners a little backdrop of kind of how you got into barbecue and really what I know you got the Texas Oil Dust seasonings and things and that, but you're not defined by that one thing, right? You're not defined by competition barbecue either, right? So, if you wouldn't mind kind of giving us a little backstory there.
Yeah, no problem. So, so just to mention, Daniel Vaughn, when I did an interview with him, about 3 weeks ago, and he was asking me, hey, where'd you grow up eating barbecue? That was his one question to me to try to define who I was and where I came from. Most guys you talk to, they grew up in Killeen or they grew up in Central Texas and Houston, Dallas, Fort Worth, and so they have a barbecue background, either going to restaurants or going to barbecue crawls, that kind of stuff, or just hanging out in the backyard with a lot of guys. Unfortunately, I'm from a West Texas town, Midland, Texas. It's an oil field town. We thrive on oil and gas. If you don't, if we're not drilling, we ain't working. So growing up, my grandfather, he was a firefighter, retired from the Army, and my uncle was retired from the Air Force, and we had a really tight knit, close family. So I learned to grill and barbecue in the backyard. His idea of a chicken when a chicken leg or a thigh was cooked, you twisted a bone. So son, here it is. This hot chicken is sitting here. When you can twist that bone, that chicken's done. I said, okay, great. It's an old gas grill converted into a charcoal pit. And so over time, small things, cooking brisket in the backyard on a 55-gallon barrel turned sideways. Cooking chicken and steaks on the backyard pit. Over time, I developed a want and a learning for cooking. My grandmother, she's 5 foot tall. Bless her heart. She passed away on us about 6-8 years ago, and she taught me how to cook just comfort food, just things that tasted good on Sunday afternoon and dinner. Spaghetti and chicken fried steak and round steak, and just the things you eat on a low budget for a big family. So my background is eating. Of course, you guys have seen me in person, so I haven't shied away from too many meals. But I have a want to learn to cook from my grandparents who cooked just good, wholesome food on a low budget. And in high school, I wanted to be a chef. So my school that I went to here outside of Midland gave me an opportunity to be a culinary student with a home ec teacher, which was up her alley. We did French, we did American, we did different types of cuisines. And over time, I kept cooking until probably 2011 or 12. I got the opportunity to I had a barbecue pit that I'd built out of some old oil field casing. I was a drilling superintendent for an oil company here in Midland. And they said, hey, man, we need somebody who can cook some steaks on a location one day for about 35, 40 guys. And we can't find anybody that can do it. So I said, I got an old trailer pit out there I built. And, you get the meat and I'll season them up and we'll just get some old mesquite wood going and we'll do some grilling. And sure enough, that turned into that 40 steaks that I did on a Tuesday on my day off turned into 500 a week.
Oh, come on, man.
I'm telling you. Within a month and a half, the company loved it. So my company, that we were doing this as a bonus program, they said, Aaron, that was one of the best steaks we ever had. I said, man, I just cooked it on the backyard. Just like a backyard over mesquite. I just burned a bunch of mesquite charcoal, threw some mesquite longs in. And, we did 40 on a Tuesday. And 2 weeks later, they said, hey, can you do that again? I said, yeah, no problem. So we did 45, and then the next day I came back on my day because I worked 14 on, 7 off. Anybody with an oil field relation knows we all have a schedule out here in West Texas or anywhere on the rigs. And I did 45 one day, and then the next day I did another 40, and then a couple weeks later he's like, hey, any way you can do that again in 2 weeks? I said, yeah. So I did it again. Except for I did on my full days off, and I did 150, then 200, and then within roughly 2 months of starting that, on my days off, I was up to 500 ribeyes a week. Now, if you imagine cooking 500 ribeyes a week, you have to. It takes a lot of seasoning. I was buying chupacabra. I was buying anything that HEB carried on the shelf. I grabbed a bottle here, bottle there, bottle here. I just kept shaking it on there and cooking it. But all the time, the fuel source stayed the same. Kingsford Blue Bag with mesquite, mesquite half splits in there.
Yep.
And man, that's just a great flavor. So we've done this. I hired my father-in-law and my daughter's boyfriend at the time. And I said, look, I'll give you a job. I'll pay you X amount of money a week. I'll give you a 1-ton truck. You got to haul this pit. We threw an ice chest, threw some other stuff around, got some clam shells, and I made banana pudding. My wife's banana pudding. We made mashed potatoes, and we took that whole steak deal to a full steak and bake. And I put those guys to work for 2.5 years. We averaged between 400 and 700 ribeyes, 1.5 inch ribeyes a week. And I was doing frac jobs for 90 to 120 people a day. We kind of branched off to catfish and, Mexican food and fajitas. But all in all, the seasoning was expensive. That's one of those things that, you just look at, you're like, man, this cost me $30 a week, maybe $40 a week, just in seasoning. So I went to the drawing board one day and we made what is oil dust now, my all-purpose rub. We called it steak season back then because that's all I was cooking with steaks. And we spent about 3 months making a gallon a week. I made a gallon of rub a week, and we tasted it, and we liked it, so we ran it. A little salty, so we backed off the salt, add a little garlic, touch of onion. We just tweaked it over about a 3-month period, and what you buy in the bottle now is oil dust all-purpose. That was what I was using after about 3 months of doing the steak caterings every day. So, man, that's I got started as a catering / just a barbecue cook doing multiple things in the middle of a cleachy pad, out in the middle of a pasture, 100 miles away from the closest town, feeding, 30, 50, 70, 120 guys a day, just depending on, how many rigs you had. And I hired, my family worked for me, and man, we just took off from there.
I love that.
I made all my stuff out of necessity.
Yeah. I love how simple, a very simple, your boss coming to you and say, hey, can you cook 40 steaks? You're like, yeah, no problem. And it's that domino effect that you do it and you're doing it the way that you would like to eat that steak in the backyard, right? Again, it's a backyard steak, but to think about it, every time that I want to eat a steak at a restaurant, I remember the steak that I make at home, and it never compares to the one I order in the restaurant is never good enough. You know what I mean? It's always lacking something. It's overcooked. Or
I eat a steak.
Yeah.
Every town that I go to, it doesn't matter if I'm competing, if I'm taking a barbecue class, or say I just go out of town just to visit with a family and we just go on vacation. At least one night at whatever we go to, I'll Google, I'll ask, I'll do whatever, say, hey, what's the best steak in town? And at least one night of wherever we're out of town at, I will have a steak. I just want to see what's out there. I want to see what flavors are going on. How are they cooking it? Are they doing a marinade? They're doing a dry rub. You can taste those things. You can taste those marinades. And I just want to see, am I missing something? Is there something I can do to tweak, add to, and that's what I'm looking for. So I'm constantly eating a ribeye. And so far, Saltgrass has probably been the best commercial restaurant steak that's pretty much the same everywhere you go. That's got all the kind of like dot the T's, cross the I's, that little char, that little salt, that little seasoning,
7.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've been to a lot of them. And that's probably the best one that's had the most flavor punch.
I agree with you.
That's what I do.
Yeah, so they use that Saltgrass. Saltgrass has their own seasoning, right? It's at 7. Mm-hmm. There's like 7 ingredients that can make it up. So they use that, and I really agree with you. But it's funny when you ask that question when you go into a new town and say, "Hey, what's the best place to get a steak around here?" Most of the time, I have to qualify that and say, "Look, I'm not saying the most expensive place. What's the best steak?" Right? Because people want to say, "Oh, the best place is this high dollar whatever it is," right? But in reality, it could be this little bitty diner, that seats 60 people. That could be the best place in town. That you're like, no, give me the hole in the wall, give me the best steak. in town. But I guess if we were in that area, I guess it would be you, right? I mean, you turned 40 steaks into a complete business and within a month, you know.
That's that whole. That's the
What's
whole.
funny is that steak that I cook, that steak that I cook for a catering is the same one I compete in, and it's won 150 team cook-offs, it's won 80 team cook-offs, it's won 60 team cook-offs. I mean, I use it because it's flavor. It's the taste, it brings my steak is a 1940s nostalgia steak. It's going to give you that little char, that little beef, that little bit of sweet, that little bit that your grandfather would have just wanted to go eat out in, so dress up in a penguin suit and take grandma out and do that. So, I mean, that's the kind of steak that I have because I bring nostalgia to the table. I don't bring new flair and flame. I bring 60 years of thought into my steak.
Nice.
So
I like that.
I know at the Austin Rodeo Cook-Off, I believe you placed, I don't remember exactly what, but I believe you placed in the open. Is that right?
Yeah, I had a 7th brisket that day. Oh, in the open. Yes. I had a,
was
I
that
had a
your
beef
steak?
rib.
Oh, it was a beef rib. Okay, I was wondering if you did your steak there.
Yeah. No, I did a 3-bone chuck. I'm sorry, I did a 4-bone chuck, trimmed. You always at 4 bones, you're going to get roughly 3 bones of good meat. And I trimmed the outer 2 bones off, squared it off, put it at an angle, and I stuck mashed potatoes and bacon wrapped shrimp in there.
That sounds pretty damn good.
Freaking hungry now.
I'm a big fan
It's
of
about,
beef ribs.
it's about a 9-pound box when I was done. So, yeah, we had a good walk with that.
Did you throw your?
What do we have? 180 teams.
Yeah, It was quite a few people out there. But did you have your seasoning on those beef ribs?
Oh yeah. So I cooked the beef ribs the same exact way I cooked my steak, and so it was the same flavor, just a lot of just like brisket on a stick. I mean, you can't go wrong with a good beef rib and especially a good chuck rib, and that was a Wagyu chuck rib from Midland Meat Company, and I cooked it the same exact way, except it's got a little bit of my barbecue sauce on the top.
Ah, I can't remember what we did on the open. What did we do? Was it a steak? I think we did a steak.
Yeah, we did. We did not get a walk. So
Yeah.
next time we're going to do a beef rib with some mashed potatoes and some bacon wrapped shrimp.
Maybe a little barbecue sauce.
Well, to be honest, I mean, say you have 120 teams out of 180 turn in an open category. 60% of those guys are going to turn in some kind of a steak protein. Some of those guys are going to turn in something fancy. They're going to turn in something a little different. So what I try to do is I try to turn a beef-related item, but I just don't want to turn in steak because a lot of other people are doing it. I want you to say, damn, that's different, And right. So, Phil, he did a surf and turf, and he won it. I mean, you want to think outside the box a little bit, but steak is always that go-to protein that everybody does for an open because everybody loves steak. But sometimes, you want a meal in a box and a little surf and turf with little mashed potatoes and garlic mashed potatoes in there. Was my thought, and I was I got nothing to lose. It wasn't $50 or something to turn in. So,
Right.
I mean, it wasn't a big deal, but, still got to walk and got some recognition. So I'm happy with it.
Yeah, Aaron, what is the weirdest turn-in you've done? Open category. I say weirdest.
Most non-traditional.
Most non-tradition. So, man, I'm pretty set on my turn-in boxes. I'm trying to think, man, because I'm pretty much by the book. I don't screw with perfection. And I want to say, though, probably if I was going to say, if I ever turned in something completely different or just, randomly selected something, I turned in, I did a fried Spam one time.
Oh.
And, and I hated Spam growing up because we were so broke. That was the only thing my mom could afford. And
Oh yeah.
but I learned to eat it, and now potted meat Spam, man, I can tear it up. So I did a Spam turn in, threw some cheese on it, and I think some crackers and kind of like a little bougie charcuterie board, but I did some Spam and crackers and little cheese and everything, and a little bit of a drizzle of sauce. I didn't walk, but I don't know how good it placed either. There was probably 30, 40 teams. I think I reached up in the cabinet and I found a couple of things that, that were there. And I'm like, well, yeah, it's $25. I need someone. Can you please enter? Yeah, we can enter. And I just pulled some stuff out of the cabinet, and here we are.
MacGyver.
I don't know how I did, but yeah,
It's probably 11.
I'm pretty much
right.
I'm pretty much a steak and shrimp guy. But I've won a ton with my bacon wrapped shrimp only. So I've got we call it spam and crackers because people ask you, hey man, what'd you cook? I don't want to tell them I cooked the bacon wrapped shrimp. Then I have a very particular bacon wrapped shrimp with a lot of flavor going on and a lot of additives that are in there. I've won, I don't know, I probably entered it 30 times. I probably got 20 first place with it. But I stick to that same thing all the time because I know it wins and I want to make money. And so that's kind of my deal. But I did turn in that spam and crackers one time just by saying the name. Everybody's asking, I just told me that's spam and crackers because I did do that at one point. And, everybody now, if you ever see a hashtag, it's spam and crackers. That's been my bacon wrapped shrimp.
Yeah.
How did you say what was the recipe for that bacon wrapped shrimp?
Yeah.
We ain't gonna tell nobody.
Some of that. And,
Some of this and some of that.
Ain't tell nobody else.
And wrap it like this right here. Can you see my hands? Yeah. Just wrap it like this.
I see it.
He's like, put this on it right here. This is the secret stuff. So, I mean, let's get into what about the very first cook-off that you ever done? Did you just go right off the bat, just like winning and just hooked? Or was it a little bit of a struggle?
It was a huge struggle. I didn't know what a barbecue cook-off was in 2011, 12, or 13. I built my barbecue pit. My brother-in-law said, hey, why don't you build a barbecue pit and let's go do some cook-offs. I said, well, what's a cook-off? Oh man, we show up on a Friday night. We drink and we turn in some brisket and chicken. So I'm like, okay, I got you. So over about 3 months, I just built my shop and I welded me up a single axle trailer. It had two 20-inch tubes on it, and I built a double firebox. Basically, it was like one big 4-foot firebox with a splitter in the middle and two doors. I researched it. I did everything the right way. I did the calculator and I just tried all kinds of stuff. So we went, I didn't know what one was. And my brother-in-law said, hey, we're cooking out here. My wife said, come on by. And he won a first place chicken, paid $800. And I said, you made $800 on that half a chicken? He goes, yeah, man. I said, it must have been pretty good. And he goes, yeah, man, it's wonderful, And so about 3 months later, he did it again and had the first place rib. And I said, are you really seriously telling me you're cooking this barbecue for money? And he goes, yeah. He said, let's do one together. So I took my pit and went to a cook-off in Midland. I can't remember if it was the breast cancer awareness cook-off in 14 or 13, or if it was a country music fest. But I'm going to tell you, I wore myself out. I was watching the fire, cracking the door, bumping the dampener, opening the stack, closing the stack, going back from the front to the back, and trying to keep that gauge at 250, and not let it go up, not let it go down. And I put every seasoning you could think of. I had my stuff on there, Tony Chachere's garlic powder, salt, pepper. Man, it was bad. It was real bad. My family ate it, and they were very good. They said, man, this is great stuff. And for 8 or 9 cook-offs, I didn't get out of my chair. I didn't walk. And this is over a 3-year period. So 13 to 15, I probably did 10 cook-offs total with the family. There would be like 30 or 40 of us come out, a couple of barbecue pits, and we would just turn the entries in, but we would drink and party. The kids would play, and we just had a family reunion every time we did one. And no, I did not come out the gate. I had not a clue what I was doing. I watched videos and man, I made my own injection. That's where my injection came from. I made my own injection, broth and beef bouillon and this and that. And then I've tried butcher paper. I've tried foil. I tried pans. And, man, it was I gave up. I was like, this is costing a lot of money for a lot of fun, but I can go to Riverwalk or Six Flags and take the kids and spend as much money as this and have a lot more fun. So I kind of got some videos one day online, and I watched them, and I put my laptop up there, and I followed Cosmo's DVD recipes to the T.
Yep.
I think he got like 4 videos for $99.
Yeah.
And I bought all of his product, and I ran it in my first cook-off in Levelland's Little State Championship cook-off, and my laptop. I'm tailgating, right? I'm sleeping in my front seat of my pickup. I've got my pit and a canopy, and man, I'm set up. I'm watching those videos, and as I'm trimming and I'm doing my stuff at home, I'm watching them, and then I'm cooking and I'm watching them, and then I go to bed in the front seat of my pickup. I wake up at 5, brisket's going, and I'm doing this stuff, and I reserved that day. I got my first reserve grand, and I was so happy. I was excited, and from there on, I haven't looked back. It's just been constant weekend. So yeah, I started out the gate slow, spent a lot of money, and then I turned it around one day. And then when I realized what was going on, then I was like, okay, well, we can kind of swing this, and started hitting some big cook-offs, started winning some big cook-offs, and then it just slowly steamrolled, to where I started points chasing in 19, and it was number 2 in IBCA in 19, and then like 6th overall in 20, and then just started qualifying for the Jack, and I just kept going, and the whole time I'm catering and I'm working, I'm in the oil field, and I'm just building rubs, and I'm building things we need for the catering business, and I just slowly steamrolled this huge train that I now steer in multiple directions. But it's been a good journey, but it was a slow start. It was rough. It was real rough.
So your first walk was also your first reserve? Is that what you're saying?
No, not my first walk. I
Okay.
did get a rib walk one time. I don't remember where it was at, but I did get a 6th or 8th place rib. I got lucky probably. I think I put a lot of Sweet Baby Ray's on it. And I'm pretty sure that's what it was, or it's Kraft. I don't remember which one it was, but it was one of those kind of sauces. And then I could tell you though, my biggest call before I actually got busy with it is y'all know Junior Rios.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And so we're at Lubbock Cook-Off, and me and Junior are friends. His trailer is parked across from me, and he just come hot, fresh off of BBQ Pitmasters. And he has a couple years, I guess, and he's got his thing going on. He's got the Myron mixing smoker, that gravity feed out there. And I sit out there and I said, you know what? I'm going to beat him. I'm going to beat him in one of these meets. I don't know what it's going to be. I haven't had but a few walks. And I said, I don't know what it's going to be in, but I'm going to try my hardest. And one of my meets are going to walk ahead of him. And my wife's like, baby, you can do it. You can do it. And the whole family's there. And I got a 2nd place brisket out of 78 teams that day. He still won the cook-off. But I got a 2nd place brisket, and he had like an 8th or 9th. And I don't know how excited I was then, but you couldn't have shook me out of a tree. I was so excited. I mean, I was holding on for dear life, just thinking, man, I've got to get a walk. And when it came down to that last 2 calls on brisket, I just thought, man, something's got to give. And I got it. So, I mean, I had a couple of walks, a couple of rib calls, a couple of brisket calls that were really high, but it was very few and far between. 10 or 15 cook-offs, I probably had 3 or 4 walks. It wasn't until I got serious about it and said, quit spending money and let's just do some cooking and see what happens. And I bought those videos, and that's when I got my first reserve. The very first weekend I bought those videos.
It paid for itself right then, right?
Yeah, it paid for itself right then. It's funny because the guy that got grand that day, he is now one of my best friends. And Tommy Smith out of Midland, one of the top chicken cooks, top brisket cooks, and we just became a friendship over time. And then, it just became something that the people that I started meeting, we started going back and forth, first chicken, second chicken, second chicken here, first chicken there. And we developed a routine, but it was like we know who was walking and who was going to do really good, who wasn't going to do very good. So I developed a lot of friendships over that in 2015 when I first got serious about competing. And man, it's I've got 4 good friends I cook with, and I couldn't ask for a better group of guys, and I met them as they began cooking or as they were already cooking. As you did, the better you did, the more people you meet, obviously. And it was a blessing for me because as I got hooked, these other guys are right there too, right? They're right there next to you, and they're supporting you. You're supporting them, and it just kind of steamrolled from there.
I want to say, a lot of people don't ever want to communicate the fact or say out loud that they're watching a video, they're watching, and I don't know why. I don't know why there's kind of this. It's almost feel like almost like people are going through. BBQ classes are a huge thing, right? I mean, people are putting on BBQ classes. The barbecue DVDs. Now it's all online. The web based. They have the barbecue championship. What was that? What's the name of that, James?
Barbecue Champions.
Yeah. So
Academy.
Yep. Yeah. So and these are I talk about these all the time. These are tools that if you're getting into and want to do a competition barbecue and don't really have a direction, you can definitely fumble around for 3 or 4 years and maybe pick things here and things here and whatever else. Or you can spend the money up front and invest in yourself and invest in the knowledge and the videos and whatever else. And those things are step by step. And these are champions that have already won. I mean, why would you not want to take that leap and do it? It's crazy to me.
I think it's a little bit different nowadays compared to I want to say like maybe 20 years ago or 15
you didn't
years
talk
ago
about it.
when we first got into doing some competition cooking. The cost of doing these cook-offs, and we do a whole lot of bar cook-offs. Back in the day, there wasn't a whole lot of sanctioning organizations around here in Texas, at least that we were aware of. So we would jump back and forth between a bunch of just bar cook-offs and all that stuff. But the entry fees were like what, $100 or something like that.
Yeah, $150 maybe.
And then you can go buy a brisket. We're going to buy a choice, maybe. I don't even know if they had Prime. I know they had Prime, but I don't remember them labeling it at grocery stores.
Yeah.
But minimal amount of money and a cooler full of beer, and then boom, you're going. But nowadays, I mean, you're talking like several $100 entry fees. Now you're talking about several $100 in meat, just meat alone.
It's close to $1,000 to get in on any cook-off. It seems like once you all. Said and done.
Definitely.
Yeah,
definitely. Just 6-hour drive, you're $900.
Oh yeah, and it's hard to do 3 or 4 cook-offs, 5 cook-offs to practice and to get into a rhythm. Okay, well, I didn't hit here, but I hit here. Is that just like Jan said earlier? It's like I wish these classes, these avenues of learning some of these barbecue, not tricks, tips or whatever, but just education on how to break down a chicken, how to cook a chicken, what you needed to do as far as like the seasonings and the injections. Because one thing was kind of like we took a class and it kind of like perplexed me, and like we weren't doing enough. Like we thought we were doing enough. And we're like, why aren't we hitting? Like, the chicken's good. It tastes great. Why aren't we hitting? And then you take a class and you figure out you're not doing enough. Like, there's more to it as far as the brining and the injections and the rubs that you layer down on top of it.
Keeping the membrane together a little bit, right?
Right, yeah. And some of those are the little tips and tricks that you pick up. You may not be like, okay, well, I know what good flavor. I know what flavor tastes good. I can go with that. But it's those little tricks, those little tips that you pick up on. You're like, holy shit! I didn't even think about that. That's just wow.
Yeah, I totally agree. I'll tell you right now, at Austin Rodeo specifically, right? So when they called out, chicken was the first protein category they called out, right? The first major protein category. And when we got 5th in chicken out of 180, I don't know what it was, 180 teams.
7, I think, 187.
187. 5th in chicken. Yeah. At that point, I was like, because listen, chicken's always been one of those categories we historically have not done the greatest in. It's been hit or miss. Ribs and brisket, typically, we can always count on those, right? We know where the flavor profiles are. We know where the doneness is. We always know what we're looking for when those things happen. Chicken's always a little not a crapshoot. It's just I tell you what, we took one of our worst categories and made it better. But when we hit 5th in chicken, I was like, we're going to fucking GC this damn thing.
We're the greatest cooks alive.
I'm being serious because it didn't like, I thought the ribs were top 10 for sure. I was like,
I've been there.
Our ribs, I was like, the flavor, I mean, there was so much flavor into one bite of ribs. I was like, this is going to be good. Now, there was a little bit, it wasn't tough by any means, but we did not get them to where we wanted it to get.
Tenderness.
We pulled them right around 205, I think, or 205, and I think we wanted to go. With that rack and how big it was, we wanted to go a little bit higher, 210 maybe, 209.
Yeah, you should have been 210, 212.
So, and we just didn't get it there, and I think that's what killed us a little bit on the ribs. Brisket, I think we were 21st in it, but with that 5th place call, with the 21st in brisket, and if we could have got ribs somewhere in there, we'd have been close to being top 5 or so.
I'll have to say that on the brisket, we did have a little snafu.
We did,
We did not include the tag with the chunk of
meat in it. It's
brisket.
Such a weird thing to do too.
It is, and so it was a big cluster because the guys went to go turn in the brisket, and I'm sitting at the table with the leftover brisket, and everybody's coming around just like, oh, I got to try it. Let me taste it. And, I'm cutting pieces off. I'm handing it out to people left and right. And I look down, and I'm like, why is that tag sitting on that? I was like, and then it took probably like about 3 seconds for that light bulb to go boom. And I was like, holy shit.
This is actually funny because this just made something click in my brain. When me and Matt are walking up with our box, I'm pretty sure Aaron was one of the guys saying, hey, make sure you have your tag. Make sure as they're walking away.
Correct.
And I'm thinking to myself,
I left the turn-in tent.
Yeah,
I left that turn-in tent, and I told everybody that I passed, you got your tag, you got your tag.
Yes.
As I'm walking past Winners Row, right?
Yep.
You got 6 or 8 of those guys, Phil and everybody's sitting there, and Manuel Moreno was cooking with Phil, and he's helping him. And I said, man, you got your tag. And about the time that I looked at him and said that, he looked at me, and he stops and opens his box, pulls his, he opens his carrier, and here comes Carmen, Phil's wife, and she is running with this tag and this chunk of meat. And I had stopped him to ask, and then about the time that his light bulb goes off, Carmen just reaches in and just grabs the whole thing and just takes off running. So I luckily had stopped Manuel. We had a couple minutes to turn in. But I had told everybody, he gets in the box and then he takes off running, trying to get that brisket in. So it's when I realized that how many people were getting turned away because they didn't have that tag, I just told everybody, you got your tag, you got your tag. Yeah. That's my first tagged cook-off to ever be in.
Dude, I wish that somebody had a camera or I had a camera because I ran like a jackass, clutching this just 2 fistful of brisket and a tag, just running through the crowd. I'm like, excuse me, pardon me, coming through. I'm trying to get to the.
But it's only brisket.
Yeah,
they only tag brisket.
Well, it's hilarious.
I don't know why they just do brisket and.
Well, when he said it to us, me and Matt are looking at each other like, what are they talking? We thought you were talking about
the
ticket.
I got the ticket right here.
What's the ticket for that? We're like, well, why wouldn't we keep our ticket? Like, what are you talking about? Like, I don't get it. What's going on?
I tell you, I was until later. In the trailer, and I turned that chicken in, and I thought that's pretty good. And I just moved on. I take a bite and I toss it off in the Cambro, and I hit my ribs, and I was like, well, those are good. Everything is like it is every weekend. There's nothing to change. I get this brisket, man. I took it pretty far. When I did I used a third pin and I poked it with a third pin. I never felt the top, and all I felt was a tray. So I'm like, okay, I got this. I'm going to throw it over here, and I slice it. And I have a certain look of when I slice my brisket. I use an electric knife. I have to. I couldn't slice my brisket with a regular slicer, but that when my knife goes through the brisket and I pull it out. Right, I pull it to me. I have to use a napkin to wipe the shreds of brisket off the blade. And if I see those little shreds of brisket on that blade, and then I look down the slice, and there's a clear juice in the bottom of that slice. It's oozing out. It's going to be a good day. That's just that's the things I look for. I'm very seldom ever wrong, but that's usually a good day for me. And it was a good day. There's a 7th brisket, and I'll take it every day of the week. But it's just been kind of one of those things that when I boxed it, I got it all in there, and I thought, okay, what do I have? I did a checklist because I don't want to screw this one up. My heart's kind of beating fast, and you just know it's good.
Yeah.
And when you get those gut feelings like that, I can screw the rest of the meats, but this brisket, that moneymaker, and that's what I call my brisket, the moneymaker. And I just knew it was going to be good, so I made sure I had my tag in, plenty of time to walk, and I'll sit there and wait till like almost the last second before I turn that thing in.
Well, we definitely did that because we were over there on time, and then we were like probably 2 minutes before cutoff, and we're like, shit, we don't have the tag. We were running around looking for it. James running through it the opposite way. It was a cluster.
We got in on time.
We
did it.
yes.
We did it.
Well,
but it's a rush, right?
It is. That's what keeps us.
Definitely that.
That's what keeps us coming back for. I mean, if it wasn't something that we enjoyed and it wasn't something exciting, I mean, we wouldn't continue to spend thousands of dollars to win $40 or $50.
Yeah, and you guys are in a big camp. Y'all have a lot going on.
Right.
Y'all got people around you. It's just me. I mean, I'm a single person team, so it's like I've got time to focus. I've got time to do things.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I'm traveling with $90,000, truck and trailer and $100,000 truck and trailer and a Jambo in the back, and I've got a lot of money invested on the ground, so it's like I don't have a lot of time to sit there and really screw up too much. I've got to pay the bills and keep that thing paying for itself.
Yeah, and you're probably in a little bit more of a routine with this than we are, because I think you're doing these a lot more often than we're getting a chance to do.
A little bit.
He's doing one right now.
Yeah, a little bit. I'm already thinking about Saturday and land passes. I mean, it's kind of. I haven't stopped since. I haven't taken a weekend off since. I think it's probably January the 8th.
Holy moly!
Wow. All right, well, let's I guess change course a little bit. Let's talk a little bit about the products, the rubs and sauces and injections that you do offer. That people can go to texasoildust.com. And do you have another outlet that people can go to purchase your seasonings?
I mean, the website is obviously the best place to go.
Okay.
It's a one-stop shop. Now, we do have 125 locations across the United States. I think it's 125. I probably could be wrong. I'm not very good at bookkeeping, so I don't always get to update my website. I have a lot going on in my life, and I'm burning the candle on 3 sides. So that's trying to keep up with that. But, one of the biggest things is your local barbecue store. Depending on the town that you're in and where you're at, most of the stores, the smaller ones, the barbecue family stores are going to carry our stuff. And Westlake Hardware, Ace Hardware, we've moved into that this past year and a half, and hopefully the next year we'll be in at least half the Ace Hardwares across the United States. And but the website, like you mentioned, texasoildust.com, that's the best place to go because it's always going to have what you need. We have a few other things on there as well that we carry, but if your nearest barbecue store doesn't have us, just say, hey, give us a mention and maybe we can get in that store, just kind of spread our wings. And there's a lot of places that carry stuff that you would never expect to carry barbecue seasonings. So we don't know everybody out there, but definitely expanding and over here pretty quick. Australia, we've already sent 2 pallets back in January to Australia, so the Q Club will be picking this up over there.
Hey, do you belong to the MBBQA Association, the National Barbecue?
I do not. I've it's been mentioned to me a few times, but I've just never have pulled the trigger on it.
Okay. Yeah, we're not members either. We've looked at it. I think we are going to be members this year. I think we're going to go ahead and join it. I cannot tell you the amount of networking that we were able to do there. We were up there a couple of weeks ago, probably 3 weeks from a month ago, maybe.
Yeah.
It was in Fort Worth. They had the national, I guess the actual meeting where they brought everybody in. But some of the best barbecues around the world.
Junior was there.
Yeah, Junior was
Junior
there.
Race is there.
But flew into it. But it wasn't just like, of course, competition barbecue is a thing there. Barbecue restaurant, that like the Shed Barbecue, places that they're not local to Texas or whatever else, but they have huge followings, huge names. And then you had businesses, seasoning companies. You name it, it was there. Food truck, anything, food truck. They had different whole hog classes were going on. It was one of the coolest things that we got to be a part of as far as having, we actually set up and did actual podcasting and interviews and everything else going on there. But for somebody like you, 100%, I would definitely recommend it to you. Because just the amount of networking and people you can run into, it was amazing, to be honest with you.
It sounds good. I think Ken, they purchased that, right? They purchased the MBBQA.
Kel, yeah, Kel
Yep.
Phelps.
Kale, I'm sorry. Yeah, Kale. John Reeves with Smoking X, he had reached out to me a couple of years ago and said, "Hey, this would be a really good thing for you. You need to try it." And I read into it, and I never got any further than that. I wouldn't mind networking like that, and I wouldn't mind going. It'd be something kind of fun, a little kind of cool, to be involved in that. It's just you hear two sides of the story, and people are like, "No, you don't need that kind of thing," and then yes, you need that kind of thing. But being by yourself, and trying to do the best for your company, and it's just one of those deals that when you're trying to work it all, you forget. I get sidetracked, and eventually, I'll be able to maybe work my way into that. I think it'd be a good deal for us, in general.
No, definitely. Yeah, like I said, just the amount of things that they were putting on. It wasn't anything tailored towards one aspect of barbecue. It was really all aspects of barbecue. There was something there for anybody or for everyone that was passionate about either growing a business. There was a lot. They even had business classes going on at the same time, and they had people coming in that were help teaching them that were like, hey, they've already made it at some of the highest levels you can make it in, which I thought was pretty cool, because you're able to get a little bit of mentorship from them, whether it's co-packing or I think one of the guys had swapped co-packers and was moving over to somebody else that was from that organization just because it was a better deal for them, and they could give them exactly what they wanted versus trying to go to some mainstream co-packer that the flavor just wasn't right. I think that's one of the big thing. They kept sending out different co-packers, but they get a sample back, and a sample was not what they'd given them. It's like, no, this is not what we're looking for. We want it to be like this. What are you doing different? Where are you bringing some of your rubs in from or anything else? So I think that was one of the big things, And
if nothing else, we drank a lot of alcohol and had a lot of fun.
We did drink a lot of alcohol and had a lot of fun.
Well, the barbecue team that won that little competition there is from Midland. They're here in the Eagle Q Club. They're the ones they're the high school team that won, and they're one of the teams that I sponsor. The coach is a good friend of mine, and we used to compete with each other together. And he doesn't really compete anymore, but we definitely stand behind those kids. And so it was good when they got up there, to see them, and it was good that they won that. And that's one thing we talked about, just being a part of that, because those kids went up there, they had a good time, and I definitely wouldn't mind being involved in that scenery.
Yeah, they even had the big competition there while it was going on, and one of the things that the kids were competing against Myron's team. The kids competed against what other team was that, John? They were competing against.
I don't know if they ended up doing it. They were going to have Matt Pittman and
Matt Pittman
the guys in the Shed competing. I don't know if they actually did or not.
Okay, well, I saw Myron's team cooking, and I saw
they did.
I saw
Myron's
the other. There was another team. I didn't know the guys though. I think y'all went and talked to them before we left or whatever. But they were competing, and originally they were going to have some of those guys come be mentors on the kids teams, and the kids were like, we don't want the mentorship. If you're going to cook against us. And I was like, hell yeah, I like that. It was fierce competition, but the kids were like, no, we can compete against anybody. We're not. We don't want the mentorship. Thank you. Which I thought was
Oh yeah,
pretty cool.
The Eagle Q is the one that won that. And
yep.
those kids, we coached them last year. COVID kind of put the program down, or year before last, and then last year they kind of put them down. This year they got back up. They've already got, I think, 2 or 3 grands, in the high school association. And Steve stopped by and he's like, "Hey man, we're on our way to Fort Worth to the BBQA." And I said, "Oh, that's cool, man. That's, you need anything?" So we got some stuff taken care of, and he texted me a picture and said, "Hey man, we just won this thing." And I said, "Man, it's awesome." So, a team from Midland, Texas, high school team goes in there, straight up, and the kids are doing things these days that I wish we had the opportunity to at a younger age. It probably would have kept a lot of us out of trouble.
Oh man, you're not kidding. You're not kidding. Let me ask you a question. Go back to some of your competition. Are you cooking on the offset? Are you doing the the barrels cooking?
I do both. I have a mixed flavor that some areas love cans, some areas love offset, some areas love pellet grills. I mean, it really is it's a mixed flavor. I started in 2019. I cooked a brisket on a drum. I thought it was the worst brisket I ever turned in, and I got 9th out of 325 teams. I thought, okay, well that's stupid. I thought it was nasty. I just didn't like the charcoal brisket style flavor. So the very next weekend I did it again. I took first, and then the next weekend I did it again. So over time, I developed a flavor that I would start it on the drum and finish it on the offset. So my brisket goes on the drum at 400, between 400 and 500 degrees. It just depends on the altitude, the barometric pressure, how hot the fuel wants to run. But it's wide open. The can is wide open. I put my brisket on at 1 hour. I set my timer at 1 hour. I just take it off. It's sizzling. The fat's burning. The brisket's starting to get dry and swell up. And then I move it to the offset, and I finish it off on the offset.
Okay. I like that.
I'm a little bit of both.
I can't remember the team's name. I guess it was a Jambo. They had the Jambo.
Poppin' Sons.
Is it Poppin' Sons?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was one of their methods they used to do back in the day. Was they would run that pit wide open, and they would just, get that some bitch hot.
Sear that thing.
Yeah, and it said it would plump up and almost kind of curl a little bit, and but it was always for 1 hour. 1 hour they'd pull it, and then they'd bring. And I don't know how. I've never cooked on a Jambo pit before, but they would bring that temperature down to the 250, 275 range or whatever it was. They'd snuff it out and then get it down to something normal and then ride that brisket out that way. Because if you're cooking that hot, you're not getting a whole lot of. I don't think you're getting a lot of smoke flavor at that point because it's burning so clean. When you're burning something that hot.
Yeah, I'm only cooking that hot on the drum because I need 2 things to happen. One, I need to supercharge that brisket, and I need to swell it. So that brisket is going to get in that rigor mortis state, and I'm going to nuke the shit out of it. And so my brisket, I only cook Midland Meat Company briskets, and I've cooked over 1,500 of their briskets.
It's Midland Meat
brisket,
Company.
I know Midland Meat Company out of Midland, yes sir.
Nice.
It's a Wagyu cross, Texas. It's American Wagyu. It's a cross brisket. And I cook those things. I know exactly. I can't tell you it's going to be exactly the same shape every time, but it's going to be 90%. And I know exactly what that brisket's going to do. And 1 hour at that hot temperature, that all that marbling on the inside, that brisket will never go out. It will always go up, and it'll swell and pull itself in. And I'll take a 3/4 inch flat and turn it into 1 1/4, 1.5 inches immediately. So I get that hour of burn, and all I'm doing is just trying to take that and just nuke the hell out of it so that it swells up, and then it goes straight to the offset. And I'm running 300 degrees on that. So I have a 30-inch barrel Jambo. I got a porch model inside my horse trailer, 30-inch barrel, and I'm running roughly 300 degrees on the gauge, and I'm just pouring the smoke to it. I got the dampener pulled back. Right when that smoke starts to come out that door, I pop it just a little bit, and then that smoke disappears, and I've got all the smoke in that chamber I can without it leaking. And I'm just putting it to it. So you're getting that smoky flavor, but you've also got that drum, that over the coals flavor at the same time, and it's small hints that you're getting that's all you need. It's not something that's offensive to the judge. It's just small hints that just kind of come in like, I like that. And then that's what I'm looking for. So I've got a mix that I kind of do that. And it's a trial and error. I chase it every weekend. So
yeah, I think it's smart. I think it's smart to do that. And obviously it is. I mean, you've done well doing it.
Yeah, our listeners are definitely taking notes right there, right?
If they're not, they should be. I tell you something else is, each region has their own. If you're in Austin, you're a Post Oak guy or whatever else. I like Mesquite. I grew up in kind of west of Fort Worth, and Mesquite is readily available. And we would cook on it, cook with it, and we did, open fire. We did steaks and cooking steaks over mesquite, like we were talking earlier. In my childhood memory, even as an adult, you can't beat it. It's one of those flavors that, people think that mesquite has a harsh flavor or it's a smoky flavor, and it's not to me. It's really, really good. But are you sprinkling any mesquite in when you're traveling around on some of your competitions?
So no. In West Texas, probably 2017, 18, I was running mesquite. Mesquite will give you the prettiest smoke ring you ever seen. Bright pinkish red, just it's amazing the color of that smoke ring that you get with mesquite. But a guy that was competing, he told me, he said, a friend of mine, he said, you'll never be a competition cook, and you'll never be that guy who is successful if you don't get out and cook everywhere. Once you become very well established in your area, let's just say West Texas, it's a 4-hour drive for me to get to most everywhere in West Texas. So once you become that, you need to get out and drive to these other towns. And so I was doing that with mesquite. And he's like, so one day JD Henley, he won San Antonio Stock Show and Rodeo on a Saturday night, and he reserved it on a Friday night back in probably, it might have been, I don't know, 17, 18, could be 19, I don't remember. But and I asked him, I said, what would you use? He goes, I use pecan. And so since 2018, I have used pecan every cook-off. I don't use mesquite. I don't use hickory. I don't use any cherry. I don't use anything but pecan. I use pecan splits, and I use oak lump.
Yeah. Pecan's a mild. Pecan is a mild wood. It doesn't have, I guess, a lot of.
Didn't have the same bite as mesquite, right?
Yeah. Maybe that's what it doesn't have the same bite.
But see, oak. If I use oak in Central Texas, now that doesn't mean that I when I say I don't use any other wood, I run bags of pecan, and I always start my Jambo out with oak lump. I run B&B oak lump. It's readily available for us, at HEB or Academy, something like that.
Yep.
So I don't really get out into Royal Oaks and all the other stuff because I know how it burns. I used to be on Team B&B. I know how it burns. I know how it runs. But I'll start my Jambo and my drum with oak lump. But I also incorporate the pecan and the splits. So I have the splits in there, and so I start the oak lump. I use the splits, and I get that good smoke. It doesn't mean that if I go east of I-35 that I'm not going to throw a few chunks of post oak in there to kind of give it that little oaky flavor that those judges might be used to. Or it doesn't mean that when I go South Texas, from San Antonio to the Valley, that I'm not going to throw a little mesquite in there with that pecan. Pecan's always going to be my base with that oak lump, but I may throw a few sticks of mesquite. And I buy I think it's called Nature's Own. It's like 8-inch splits. You can buy them at like Market Streets and Uniteds and that kind of thing. It's in a bag, like 3/4 cubic inches.
Yep.
So, I mean, it's a small bag, but one bag does 2 cooks. And I've got hickory, I've got oak, I've got mesquite, and I've got pecan in my barbecue trailer. So wherever I'm going, I can throw a few sticks extra in there for that little flavor, nuttiness, that little oaky flavor, little mesquite flavor. I'm not going to just burn straight pecan, but wherever I go, I've cooked so many towns and so many areas that I'm going to play the judge a little bit. So I'm going to throw a little that extra few of those sticks in there while that brisket's on. I don't worry about the brisket like the pork and ribs and chicken, but that brisket, I need to make sure that brisket has that familiar flavor. So I'll throw a few extra sticks in there with that.
Yep. That's what I like about competition barbecue. Back in the day, it was one of those things that you had an offset cooker, and that was the way you did it. And this is like 20-something years ago, right? A few guys would cook over coals, but not many. And now I think that there's so many different weapons out there, and people are using the pellet grills for some competition cookers. Like, no, I have a pellet grill. It's only for my chicken. That's it. For chicken, it's my chicken cooker. I've got a drum for my ribs, and I got an offset for my brisket. And it's a combination that it's however you like to cook and whatever else. But I know we have some videos out there with the pellet stuff and offset stuff and whatever else. But the real message I think that we try to pass along is, first of all, if you can't make fun of something, what course it's you should be able to make fun of everything. Nothing should be off limits. But the other side of that is that we want to use everything. And I've talked so much shit about pellet grills in the past that it's almost comical now that it's almost I can't have one, right? Because I've talked so much shit about it.
You're fixing to get one.
I am fixing to get one. But here's the deal.
You've bastard it so much, you just can't go get one because then people make fun of you.
That's right. That's right. But here's the deal. We were in a competition cook one time, and we could not, for some reason, the air that day, whatever the case may be, we could not get these freaking briskets done. And we had a couple of Traegers sitting out there, and I remember looking over at John, and John goes, "You want to put it on the Traeger?" And I go, "Yeah, let's do that." So I remember we offloaded these two briskets, and we put them on Traegers, and I just basically said a prayer, and I think in like 45 minutes later, we were pulling those briskets to rest, and I was thinking, there's no way this was going to happen had we left them on the smoker. That for whatever reason, it just was not cooking. The gauge said it was here, and we fought the fire that day, and it's one of those things. It just wasn't.
That direct heat just gave it what it needed.
Exactly. And it's so good.
I used to start my brisket at 6 p.m. 6 p.m. every Friday night. I had a religious timeline. When I first started at 6 p.m., I put my brisket on. I did 4 hours of smoke at 250. I didn't care if it looked done, if it had a mahogany red. I didn't care. It was 4 hours of smoke at 250. And then I wrapped it up in a pan and covered it in foil. And I stuck it in the pellet grill, and I took it at 225, and at 4 a.m. it would come off. And I had monitors, and I had pins and probes, and I'd wake up and take my brisket off, and I'd throw it in the Cambro, and that was my brisket for about 2 years of competing. Just because it was easy. I had a pellet grill out there. I had my offset smoker, and that's what I cooked on. I didn't start my brisket on the pellet grill. I just finished it on the pellet grill in a pan. So they're just convenient, and you don't have to sit there and babysit it.
No, you're right, and that's how I feel about these drums. Once you get a drum set, especially for chicken or whatever else you're cooking, it's so. I mean, to man a pit and fire management's a thing, and if especially in a competition cook, it's one of those things that it can get away from you very quickly. I mean, if you're out of your timetable just by a little bit, it can throw your chicken off, right? And every time you open the damn door to check something, so I do believe you got to have a second cooker out there with you. But here lately, I think we've really, really, really got it down. But I say that, and then the next cook-off we're going to go into, and it's just going to be a freaking we're going to look like newbies or something. I feel like there's always something.
Oh yeah,
but
I've gotten so used to cooking on cans that I forget to add fuel to my Jambo. I mean, literally, then that 30-inch holds that heat, right? So it's probably just like y'all's Austin pits. I mean, those things hold so much heat on the inside that when the coals are done, and you can hardly you probably are past that point of no return if you couldn't get your fire started again when your gauge starts to drop, right? And I look back there, and it's in my trailer, so I'm like, oh man, I get to looking around, and I look at the gauge, it's like 200, and it's 12 o'clock. brisket's only 187. I'm like, oh my gosh, Aaron, what did you do? So I've gotten so used to having those cans there with that offset cooking that sometimes I just forget to keep adding fuel, and then by the time I notice that it's too late, and so I'm shuffling things around. I'm moving stuff to the drum. I'm trying to get the brisket cooking faster, and so I mean it's it'll spoil you. Drums will spoil you, and pellet grills too. So yeah, if you get just a little sidetracked, it can ruin your day.
So maybe I'm wrong on this. Again, when I started this earlier, I wanted to say like you're not defined by, your catering or anything else. You're not defined just by your seasonings and getting those out across whatever. Do you have anything else in the works besides those two things? Are you working on new projects or anything else coming out from your brand?
As far as is something else besides barbecue?
No. I mean, along with barbecue, I know you got your seasonings, and then are you still doing the catering stuff?
Oh, so actually, I work for Midland Meat Company now. I work at Midland Meat Company. John Scarborough, fifth generation rancher. He owns the Half Acre, so it's the Midland Meat Company Half Acre restaurant, and I'm the pit master there, slinging barbecue. 5 days a week, and I compete on the weekend. So we turned a catering business into a food trailer into an outdoor event, and then an outdoor event. He actually purchased Junior Urias's old catering company, the building that he was catering out of, and he opened up on the weekends. It was an adjoining piece of property to his property. And he purchased it. He enclosed it. We made a nice restaurant out of it, and we've got 4 smokers out there, and we're open Tuesday through Friday from 10:30 to 2 o'clock, and we just cook barbecue and burgers and wings and feed the public. So that's my daily job, is the seasonings and the restaurant, and then we just launched our charcoal. We have old fashioned lump charcoal that just came out. We just announced it in April, and I'm fixing to hit the market with it probably by the end of the next month.
Nice. And that's what that charcoal is it's an oak lump. Okay.
Well, sort of. So I've been using this charcoal for about 2 years. This is made the old way. It's not mass produced like your kilns, like your your Royal Oak, your B&Bs. So we actually make this the way our grandfathers made it, and in a 55-gallon barrel. We got a bunch of burn barrels, and man, it's made and it's done the way it used to be done. We got brownies, we got chunks of bark in it, and you're not going to find nails and rebar and rocks and that kind of stuff that's going to be in there. But we have mesquite. Mesquite is the number one flavor that we've got right now available. The winds out here, you guys being from Texas, y'all know the winds have been really bad, so we're having a hard time burning right now. But we'll have mesquite, oak, and but the biggest one is the pecan. We got a pecan lump.
What's the name of the charcoal?
Old fashioned lump charcoal.
Old fashioned lump. Man, that's great.
Got to get our hands on some of that.
Yeah, I'll order some. Yeah, and
so we only sell it at Midland Meat Company right now, but I'll be having it by the time the next shipment comes in. I should have enough inventory that everybody can get it. I can't send it to one store and another store not get it. That wouldn't be fair. So I need to be able to send it to everybody, so everybody has it, and they're able to sell it to nationwide.
Yeah, I like the fact that I like the name, and I like the fact that you're doing it the way that it was originally done. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's pretty damn cool.
I can light my drum in 8 minutes. I can close the lid. My drum will be 250.
There it is.
Damn, that's something.
Yeah,
it is.
I use a torch. You can use cubes, tumbleweeds, Weber starter cubes, whatever you want to use. But I use a little candy cane torch. I light it in 4 places, about a minute and a half. Leave my lid open, and I'll close it about minute 8. And I look down my gauge, it'll be 250. and I'll fire my brisket up at my drum at 6, and at 6:30, I've already got the brisket on there. So I mean, it's very fast. It lights very good, and it burns long. So I'm happy with it. There's no BS aside, and I use it every weekend, and I got my own little stash there while I'm trying to promote it. But it's clean. The mesquite, you don't really realize you're cooking with mesquite. That's because it's burned differently. It's combusted, and it's not going to have a lot of gases. So you're not going to sit there and have a 4th of July firework in your pit. Having to wear your safety glasses because it's about to poke your eye out, that kind of thing. So it's a little different, but it's a cleaner burn, a faster burn, and I'm excited that I'm able to be able to offer that. It took about a year and a half to get that ready. So
I love that. Can't hardly beat that.
That's my newest project.
Well, I tell you what, we're definitely excited for it. Well, like I said, we're fans of you, man. We've definitely seen your stuff out there. James is holding up. What did you say, James?
Now, can we circle back just
sure,
like,
James?
Is that corporate talk? Like, can we just?
It's just circle.
That's horrible. And I hated myself for saying that. We discussed where to purchase your seasoning at, but we really didn't talk much about what seasonings you have out there and what injections you have out there. Can you just briefly run through what do you have available? And I don't know, maybe you just throw out, I mean, not everybody's going to go out there and purchase your whole line. I wish they would. We're definitely going to look at grabbing a few ourselves, but what's the
I think I read a comment that you made about a beef injection here a few weeks ago. I remember that standing out in my head a little bit.
Yeah.
About somebody else's product there, No, I'm just kidding. I tell you, I give you hell about it, but no, Phil's a good guy, man, and I love every minute I get to hang out with those guys.
Yeah.
I tell you, we have 7 bottles, 7 SKUs of seasonings. I've got obviously my best selling rub is my all purpose. Gluten free, no MSG. It's a good salt, pepper, garlic, onion style rub. Use it on everything. I've got a chicken rub that I made one morning at 6 a.m. because I did not have the other commercial rubs that I was using. So I just so happened to have a bunch of bottles of different stuff like garlic and onion, and I always carry that around, right? So I made the Barnyard Pimp. That's my chicken rub, sweet, savory. Got a little bite to it. I made that at 6:30 one morning. Used it on chicken. Popped the first place bird out of like 70 something teams, and the rest is history on that one. So I've got the all purpose, the oil dust. I've got the Barnyard Pimp. Piggy Bank is my pork and rib rub. Same story, different day, same results. So I made a kind of a sweet, smoky, little chipotle kind of rub for my pork ribs. I ran out one morning, used it, and built it right there in my cabinet, and put it on ribs and hit a first place rib. So I got a black gold. It's a brisket rub. It's got a little pecan flavoring in there, coarse pepper. Not a lot of salt. It's got lower salt than the oil dust does, but it brings out a very good Texas style brisket, especially for West Texas. We just have very good success with it all over the state. I've got the zesty garlic is our jalapeno garlic. It's gonna make you sneeze, and it's got a bite to it. I did it on purpose. I got tired of jalapeno seasonings, garlic jalapeno that just didn't have a lot of heat, a lot of pop to it.
Right.
So I went to the board on this one, and I made some heat there, and it's definitely going to give you that pop that you're looking for. Just if you're scared of heat, don't like any kind of heated rub or spiciness, that's not for you. So my Wildcatter, I've got a garlic rub. It's kind of a sweet garlic, very fine. We use it on chicken and brisket a lot, so that's my Wildcatter rub. Everything I do is kind of an oil field theme, if you haven't already noticed. And then I've got a bullseye beef marinade. It's what I marinate my steaks in. It's also a finishing dust for brisket. It's a great base layer on brisket. It's got that beefy, salty kind of soy texture and flavor to it. It's very good straight out of the bottle. If you lick your finger, taste it, you'll be like, damn, that's good. So it's a very good marinade. It won't make your stuff real mushy. It won't break it down, but it does have phosphates. It's going to kind of heat it up. So that's the 7. Should be the 7 products that I have in a bottle. We got 3 injections. We got a beef injection called Calcutta. It was what I started making in 15, and I had to learn how to transfer that to a powder. And once I did, it's been very successful. I have a pork injection. Everything plays off the Calcutta, like when you bet on yourself at a cook-off.
Yeah.
You do the Calcutta itself. That's where the Calcutta came. And then the pork cutta. That's our pork injection. Got a good grandmother's Sunday dinner at grandma's house kind of flavor to it. And then been very successful in our pork game. And then I've got a chicken injection called cluck cutta. And that's been a huge process and flavor for our chicken and turkey. And then I've got a barbecue sauce called Brandon oil. It's made for brisket. It's made for chopped beef sandwiches. We use it in the restaurant. That's where it came from. I made it, developed it for barbecue sandwiches. And about 2 years ago, we used it on brisket. And we haven't looked back since. It's slowly becoming one of the top brisket sauces in the state.
Well, that's awesome.
That's about all I got. And then our charcoal. So
That's a lot.
we got about 11 SKUs, and I've got about 4 more in the woodworks, but I'm not going to release them only because there's a certain time and place that you need to put something out, and now's not the time to do any kind of new products. We're not interested in putting things out just to have a bottle or something to sell. I'm only interested in putting out product that people would use and benefit from.
Well, not to mention, I mean, everything that you're using or selling right now, you're using in competition and winning in it, right? So that's the things, like you're putting where your money, where your mouth is, and I love that. I love the fact that that's kind of your mentality to it. You're using these rubs, on competition days and doing really well with it. So that's pretty.
And I use it in the restaurant.
That's right.
We use it in the restaurant 5 days a week or 4 days a week in caterings, and then we compete with it on the weekend. So, every rub that you buy isn't competition. It's not backyard. It's just seasonings in a bottle. So it's just flavor. If you can learn how to layer those flavors and keep those flavors smooth and unique and mellow and just turning good barbecue, doesn't matter if you're at the house, in the backyard, the king of the cul-de-sac, or at a competition. Barbecue is barbecue, and good barbecue just stands out.
Absolutely. Hey, we're getting close to the end here. Maybe you could tell the folks where they can find you, where they can get a hold of you, where they can find your seasonings and your sauces and all that.
Yeah, so you can go to TexasOilDust.com. If you have a bottle or of anything of ours, my barbecue sauce, anything on the side of my bottles, you'll have my name, phone number, address, email address. You can call, text, email. You can get a hold of me anytime, as long as you got one of my products. You can catch me on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Texas Oil Dust, any one of those 3 avenues there. Twitter, too. You can catch me on Twitter at Texas Oil Dust. So anything you type in Texas Oil Dust, you'll find me one way or another. If you don't find me, you're not looking hard enough.
Yeah. We're definitely going to have you back on, because I know you have a couple of barbecue fails. I know you had one recently where I think you just ran a drum smoker just a little too high. Am I misremembering that?
Yeah, because I like to cook my chicken at between 500 and 600 degrees on that drum.
Right.
And it's about a 30-minute bird. I got to talking to Johnny Trigg, and we were out there BSing, just shooting the shit. And I smelled some plastic burning. And I was like, man, somebody burning plastic in their pits. And then I heard this, Aaron, your drum's on fire. And I looked up there, and there's flames coming out of it. And I walked away and left the lid open. 1957 Chevy Teal Blue patina drum that was very unique in color is now half burnt. And, it's still sitting there the same way I brought it home that day.
Yeah.
We've got some stories like that. We really appreciate you joining us tonight.
Yeah,
Aaron.
thank you so much.
I appreciate the offer, guys. It's been fun talking to y'all. I'm honored, and as I said, man, I'm a big fan of you guys, and I love to watch y'all's videos. And anytime I get a chance, from now on, I'm definitely going to come chase you guys down.
All right, we appreciate it, bud.
Likewise, man. Thank you, bud.
Thank y'all.
Hey, big shout out to Aaron Lesley with Texas Oil Dust for coming on to the podcast. It was super awesome. Super nice guy. He's got a huge line of rubs, seasonings, and injections that, from what he's telling us, and we see the proof in the pudding.
We see the results when he's walking.
He's kicking ass.
Yeah, if you listened at all, you learned some things. Especially if you're a
Yeah.
competition cook. If you listen, there's some tricks and some tips given.
Oh yeah, and he's not one of these people I hear that are just putting out rubs and they're not utilizing them in the actual competition portion of it. You know what I mean? Like, hey, buy my line of rub right here.
got my name
I'm
on it.
winning everywhere, and they're not actually using that. But he's using it at the restaurant. He's using it as he's doing his competition cooking. I guarantee he's using it in the backyard when he's cooking, throwing down them steaks.
That's right.
Yeah, so definitely go check out TexasOilDust.com. Check out his stuff. And if you want to check out anything from Grab 'em in the Brisket, go to GrabTheBrisket.com. You can find all our links to all of our social medias, find out a little bit more about us, check out our swag, and
You can be like what Brad Orson, where he's just like, grab the brisket, just grab the brisket.
Or you can not do that. That's fine.
Either way. That was so much
And keep
fun.
sending us your barbecue wins and fails. We've had a lot of interviews back to back, but once we get back to some of these normal episodes, we're definitely going to be going through some of those.
Yeah. We've got
Definitely can and will start winning a bottle of rubs.
Yeah. We're ready to give out some more Sucklebuster.
No, I can't do it.
I can't.
Nobody.
You stepped on them.
I didn't get the
All right.
barbecue
Yeah.
fail.
Forced.
I think
It felt
next
forced.
week we'll have one. We'll have another fail. We have a long
hope we
list
do.
we need
Yeah.
to get through. So
Yeah, barbecue fails coming up, beer reviews coming up, along with some crazy stories that we come up with.
we've got some.
Hey, it's been great talking barbecue, you guys.
Later, guys.
Peace.
Thanks, everybody. We've been great.
Dang it, Bobby. Just grab the brisket. We'd like to give a special thanks to Sucklebusters Barbecue Rubs and Sauces, Bolner's Fiesta Spices, CoolieNation Custom Koozies, Cambro Manufacturing, YETI Coolers, the Smoke Sheep Barbecue Newsletter, and Dalstrong Knives. We definitely appreciate your support.